Hello again, Frank from the Old Town Coleman Center, and welcome to my very first On the Road with Old Town Coleman video. This is something I've been wanting to do for a really long time. My plan is to get out there and meet as many Coleman and GPA collectors as I can, and to document the visit with a video for you to enjoy, because it's always fun to meet new people and to see all the fun stuff they've collected. So this first video was filmed in early October of 2024. I loaded up Coleman 1 and the puppies, and we made a short road trip over to Bozeman, Montana. And the people you're about to meet are very special to me. I've had the honor of knowing Dwayne Hansen and Darcy Van Tiger for almost 25 years now. And to say that they are two of the top 5 collectors and historians on the planet is an understatement. These people are very important to our hobby, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy meeting them. You may be familiar with this book. This book was published in 2015 by the International Coleman Collectors Club. It was a collaborative effort by a lot of people all around the world, but a lot of the pictures that you'll find in here are of Darcy and Dwayne's collection, and Darcy was the editor-in-chief of this book. And you may be familiar with this book also. If you find a glass or parchment shade and you want to know if it went to a Coleman or another pressure lamp, this is your reference. And this book was written by Darcy Van Tiger. These came out the last year. These are both export price lists, and Darcy, through her research, also has published these. I think you can tell by now that Darcy and Dwayne are not your normal everyday Coleman collectors. This is my first attempt at a documentary type video, and unfortunately it's not going to be perfect, and it really doesn't showcase the beauty of their massive collection. I took so much video over there that I had to bust this up into 2. This first one will be all the lamps and the lampshades, and the second video will be the lanterns and everything else. But the good news is I will get better over time, and Darcy and Dwayne have a winter home in southern Utah, and that's where the rest of their collection is. And they have invited me down there to film that, so that's something you can look forward to. So, go grab yourself something to drink, sit back and relax. You're going to like this. This lamp is probably why most of us love lamps today, because if it wasn't for this lamp, we wouldn't know Darcy.
So this lamp belonged to my grandmother. It was her absolutely favorite lamp. The story from my uncle is that when Grandma and Grandpa moved to the farm in 1902, the wagon overturned and Grandma's lamp was broken. So her sister gave her hers because she already had rural electric. So it was very precious to my grandmother, and she kept it from 1902 to 1968 when she gave it to my parents. My parents had it stored in the top of the garage for many years and never hung it, and I decided to restore it in about 1995 probably. Got it out and started restoring it and got it all restored. It is electric because Grandpa made it electric so that Grandma could still enjoy it. And that kind of got me started in antique lighting. The 132A with an original poinsettia shade in the larger size. That's a vase lamp that Bob and Jane Fladung had made that fits a 150 vase for Coleman. And we bought that one off of your auction in '06 because I really liked the green. And the shade we used to have out on the 138, it's an older shade in a pattern. Not sure whose it is, but I'm pretty sure Sullivan made it. They were a big shade company in Chicago. But you can tell it was electric because it fit over a diffuser.
Right. Yep.
But it's really pretty. An electrified 117 with a really cool old B&H shade on it. Bradley and Hubbard. It is really a pretty shade.
That's why it's so important that people have your book in their truck, because something like that's just going to be sitting in an antique store for $10.
And someone won't know that that shade's probably from the teens, not new. Here's something that's really interesting. So we got a 443 shade and a 444. But later on, they changed them all to the smaller size. So this became a 239D and a 443D, D for decorated. It was pretty simple that they did. So they're all within 1928 to 1932. And they ceased production in 1932 of these. This one is a B. It's a bottom valve. Was one of the last ones made.
And to be honest, I never realized there was that much of a difference in the size of the shades.
In the size of the shades.
Look at those two. They're just...
Yeah. This is almost 12 inches in diameter at the beginning, and this is more 11. It's almost an inch larger. So it's kind of interesting here to have the full set where you can see them together.
Yep.
And then this is a C331. They had a real interesting advertisement for these. They said, those who still want a tried and true regular burner and not go with the brand new Insta-Lite.
Right.
So this was the tried and true old-fashioned one. It's actually a internal pump CQ is what it is. Then we go to the vase lamps, the 150 vase lamps. They advertised those for birthdays and Christmas presents. They were kind of a more extravagant lamp to give as a gift. So normally, I don't know if you can see them here, normally the 150 came with a mica. It didn't have the 355 globe, which came later.
Right.
They had a mica in them. But the 355 globes came out later, and most of them got replaced. They didn't keep the mica. They went to the 355 globe.
Okay.
The shades are another Bernie Carlson.
Okay, so you have green, black, and red, but what was was this coloring white on the...
Each lamp had the same matching color. They had a red one, a green one, a white one, and a black one.
So it was white.
Yeah, it would have been white or kind of a...
Bernie does make a white. He makes a
a
full set.
Yeah, and they actually call it ivory.
Wow.
So in the 20s, the basic CQ was really popular, but they needed to enhance the shades from what they had done earlier, so they came out with these Medallion shades.
Okay.
In about 1923, they introduced what they called the classic finish. So they had Flemish brass, antique gold, and Roman bronze. The Flemish brass must have been quite popular because they made it the longest.
Okay.
It shows in catalogs very long. Also, in a Canadian catalog, they actually made a PQ chandelier in this color.
Really?
Yeah,
That's really cool.
yeah. Both of these shades have original fringe on them. So you've got the two smaller shades, the 324 and the 318, and then these are the bigger 335s. So this is a 335C, which has the decoration to it. I don't have a 335C, but it doesn't have the decoration, and this is an A.
Okay. Okay.
Why there is no 335B, we don't know, which would have been green with a decoration, but it doesn't appear in the catalogs, and I've never found one. So
Okay.
they didn't decorate the green ones.
That's odd.
Yeah, it is odd. There's two more of the ones with the same matching decal, a 318 and a 324. So this is the earliest 318. Here's the next 318. And then the final 318. So Coleman kept the same numbers.
Right.
But they just changed the shade.
Yeah.
They didn't renumber things. So it makes it a little confusing.
What's in the corner?
Another 335D.
Okay. Tell us why some of your lamps are lit up electricity-wise.
We like to enjoy them. They have been electrified without disturbing any of the regular features, so that they still can, you can pull off the electrification and still use some gas. But we do like to enjoy them every day.
Right.
And as in today, it's a little warm in here. So it'd be a little toasty with them all lit.
Look at it. And they're sure pretty. Just, wow.
So these are our converted section. We have a converted A, a converted N.
What do you mean converted?
These were all torch lights, and they've been converted to a quick-lite.
Okay.
They had the Q70 burners added.
Right.
This one's a Canadian CQ
Okay.
with one thing that we don't have very much document on, but they've been found, is a custard 329 shade. And they seem to only come out of Canada. And believe it or not, they all come out around Perth, Ontario. So we think there might have been a glass company somewhere in that area that produced them.
Right.
C362 has a 462 fitter and an 062 globe.
Okay.
They sold these as a set. This one's 29. Most of them are 29 and 30. They didn't produce them very long. They were only a couple of years.
Okay.
But they did them with the globe. This globe came out before the 335 globe. And once the 335 globe came out, these just seemed, you can still see them in the parts catalog, but they didn't use them very often. This one's an AQ. Yeah. The old fount was converted, and these can be done two ways. This one has the valve above. Notice there's no valve underneath. It only has one. And it's a factory conversion. There's early ones that come up straight to here, and the valve's still underneath. I think we have one over here.
Okay.
This one's really cool. This is a real complete, with the tags, CQ on a display stand.
And that's the way it came.
That's the way it came,
Wow.
with its original tags.
Wow. Okay.
These are the earliest shades they did. These are the 314 series. So we have a 314A.
Which one's the A?
This is an A, commonly called the Windmill shade.
Okay.
And this seems to be the most popular and sold the best.
Okay.
This is a B. This is a C. 314D. And this is a 314F.
Okay.
There's an E, which I know of only a couple of them. It has 10 etched stars in the top of this. Up above we have an HQ.
You're not going to find one of these at Walmart. Wow. That's incredible. And what model is this?
HQ 329. 329 is the shade.
It's the shade. And you notice how it balances perfectly? You take the shade off and it'll tip back.
All right.
but it'll only balance with an original shade. If you put a reproduction one on, it's too heavy and it'll tip back.
Really?
Yeah. How they did it, they really made them balance correctly.
So did this precede this BQ and CQ and all this?
I think same time, don't you think?
Yes. They're not very practical at all to fill or pump or to light.
Right. Sure cool though.
So the upper ones are all lamps from in the 30s and 40s.
Okay.
You've got 133, 134, 130, 130, 129, 129A. This one's really nice. This is a 129A with the original shade that would have come with it. 134A. And then the later into the 50s is the 152s.
When was the last lamp made?
U.S. would have been 1947 or
Oh, I don't know. One of them is, I think the last
53.
last run is there.
Yeah, and this is new old stock. It's a 152A. A of 153, and we've noticed it's last year made. And notice the paint on it. It's a little different. It has a little different paint. It's really pretty. Model R.
But is that an original shade?
Mm-hmm. They sold a lot of them with a slag glass shade. And the next one's a Model H, which is the same fount as the R. And then they went to the Model A. And these are all torch lighting lamps. They're very early. They're all torch lighting lamps. These would have been made about 1912.
Okay.
This is a Model M. The M and the N's were torch lighting lamps, but they advertised them as economy.
Mm-hmm.
They were economy because they didn't have the bell cover. They were a smaller fount, and they could make them just a little bit cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
This is an AVK. Take a look. This is a kerosene lamp. The K stands for kerosene.
Right.
This one's unmarked, but it would have had the same burner as an arc lamp.
Okay, and then next door we have a special one.
Yeah, and this is a 35. This one is marked by Guy Hunter. He was a very, very predominant Coleman salesman. He was quite the guy. So they let him do his own lamps. And if you notice, there's a difference in the shape of the fount.
Mm-hmm. So this guy was a top salesman. He was so bad.
Yeah, he was so bad they let him brand his own lamps.
Wow.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So this one's kind of different. It's a 35 fount, but it's got a little later torchlight burner on it. And then this one is a DT. DTs were made during World War I and is all steel. Steel fount, steel bell. It is torch lighting, but they went to all steel because, believe it or not, they had brass restrictions in World War I, the same as they did as World War II. So everything down here, these are all Sunshine Safety or Sunshine products.
Okay.
This one's marked Sunshine Safety, same as a Model A. Sunshine Safety, and Sunshine Safety was only a mail order company. They didn't sell them in stores or anything. They were only a mail order company. William Hofschott was the president of Sunshine Safety. He bought and sold from different companies. So just like today, he would go with the low bid. So he went with some of the things, he went with Gloria for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. So he did Coleman, he did New Light, then he did Gloria, and then he sold out to the Coleman Company. And then these are all Canadian.
Isn't this the Silver Duchess?
No, that one's a 153. It doesn't have a pump. It's a bottom valve, doesn't have a pump. The one next is the smaller fount, 154.
Okay.
Next one would be a 128. I think all three of those are 128s.
That's crazy.
I believe they were trying to roll on. They had like a rolling machine to roll on the decals, and they didn't roll quite straight.
Most every one of those you see, the decal is that way.
The decal is crooked, so we think their automated decal thing did not work real well.
Yeah. Talk about the Slant.
Really nice 317 Slant with the 317 bug screen. Has the bug screen that they made just to fit the Slant.
Oh, boy, it's much
shallower.
much shallower.
And it has to have a connection here to go around the Slant.
Right, that's what the regular.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so they had to adapt it to fit around all of the Slant fixtures.
And then we get down here.
The right is an aristocrat. The left is a parlor lamp. But the parlor lamp, interesting, the base on the parlor lamp is actually made for electric. It has not been repainted. We don't know if the paint was original for the electric or not. But Dwayne has some reproduction tanks. So we put a tank in it and a regular shade on it and made it a parlor lamp. Center is a 151 in black, and behind it is a 150 in ivory.
150K
150K, excuse me.
with the tag.
The first one is Sunshine Products. That's one of the last ones they put in that has,
That one?
yeah, and it has the valve on it. What would you call those?
Wow. That's
A bottom valve, a carburetor.
Carburetor
valve.
Carburetor valve. And the next one is an Arcolite, which Coleman made. They sold them as Yale, but they also sold them through Savage and Sears, and they pretty much sold those as a generic lamp. So some of them were sold as Arcolite, some of them aren't marked, and they were just pretty much generic. Years ago, Herb said that Coleman Company made some generics to sell to the mail order companies to make money. So the next one is a Flemish brass CQ, and that has a Gill Brothers shade on it. Gill Brothers made these decorated shades and sold them through most of the mail order companies. They had quite a section of them. The next one's a WZ. It was sold by Sears. Coleman made it, but that was another one that they sold as WZ. It was sold by Sears or Sunshine Products. The next one's a WZ that was sold by Sears, and that has another Gill Brothers shade on it. Gill Brothers made such decorative, pretty shades. The next one is Lindemann Hoverson. And also has a carburetor valve. Everbright. And they were made for Eaton's. They were in the Eaton's catalog, and they have that blue handle on them. We're pretty sure they were made by Coleman Canada, but we can't find any documentation to actually prove it. That's the Nagle Chase section.
Nagle, you said?
Nagle. Nagle Chase. A lot of people say Nagle.
I say nigger.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Nagle.
Nagle, okay.
So those are Nagle Chase.
Okay.
And then the next one's over Economy. And then some Akrons.
I think those are both Gill Brothers, aren't
They're
those?
both
are
Gill
more
Brothers
Gill Brothers
that were made
shades.
for Akron. Well, the orange one was made specifically for Akron as a special. That lamp and shade was sold together as a special Mail order.
Did you get the new light chandelier? Those are probably the only set of original shades that anybody's going to see. Those are really, really hard to find. They came with that lamp.
That lamp came complete, out of Maine. Yeah, the new light pendant lamp has another one on it. That Nagle chase is designed crazy. Look at how the fuel valve comes out of the bottom and loops up.
They tried to avoid everybody's patent.
Right.
Nagle chase did things differently to avoid anybody else's patent.
So Coleman ran into a patent issue with the 160, didn't they?
Yeah, with Aladdin.
With V.S. Johnson that owned Aladdin. Supposedly, there was a meeting between V.S. Johnson and W.C. Coleman, and the one was, you stick to mantle lamps and you stick to pressure. We won't compete with each other.
That was after they made the 160 and...
They came out and they supposedly had a meeting. And it's really interesting.
So
You see the 160 advertised in Canada through World War II. My theory is Coleman boxed them all up and shipped them to Toronto to sell in the Canadian market. That way they weren't competing with Aladdin US.
Right.
So Aladdin quit making the PL1 and any pressure lamps.
No
and
pressure lamps.
Coleman quit making the mantle lamp.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And that was by agreement?
We believe it was a
We
gentleman's
believe
agreement
so.
between the two owners of the companies.
They were trying to avoid suing each other.
Yep.
Well, that doesn't happen today, does
Would have been a gentleman's agreement, I think.
Agreement. And V.S. Johnson and W.C. Coleman were both very honest gentlemen.
And we still don't know who made the burner for the Carolite or the fount.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this one had a strip burner, and Dwayne converted it to electric very early on, having them. That's an original Aladdin shade that was made for L.L. Bean. That's why it's laced a lot like the Coleman ones. And then that's a regular Carolite that's in kerosene with a reproduction Aladdin Flying Duck shade.
That's a bizarre looking thing.
The new light hollow wire?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if it was used in the house or it was obviously been able to use outside since it was a lantern head for a barn light or a porch light.
Wow. That's just so cool.
So the end one is a Pittner. The next one is an early new light.
Come on, Windmill.
The next one is Night. The next one's Gloria.
That globe on the night is really nice.
The globe that's actually on the grape shade that's on the new light one is actually patented 1909.
Wow.
They made those in all different sizes. Consolidated Glass made those. This one's Sun Vapor.
This one?
Mm-hmm. And the next one's Bright Light, which was a precursor to AGM. The next one's really interesting. Got that from Jerry Embring. It's a basically a DT fountain. It's a ET fountain. It's brass with the straight side, and it's been converted to quick-lite.
What's this one?
That's our CQ nightlight. Here's how Dwayne does the, if I can get this off of here without breaking anything. That's how Dwayne does his electrification so that it doesn't ruin it. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, this poor lamp was already electrified when we got it, mm-hmm. and it's a really, really early 10 of 24 CQ mm-hmm. with the tall handle. Mm-hmm. It's a really early one. Mm. So it's my nightlight. It's on a, and this is a reproduction shade.
It's sure white.
It is. It's white, and it's got the
big lip,
and it's hand painted, and but it makes a good nightlight shade for $10.
Oh, sure. Sure it does.
Well, this is a bracket lamp that one of my first ones that I found, and I decided that I'd put a lantern head on it, and that way you can use it outside in the wet weather, and it worked out well, and it's been a good working lantern for me. The rest of them are above that are a chandelier, a PQ chandelier, and several various hollow wire lamps.
Okay, well, this one with the green shade here, which?
It's a number 7 hollow wire.
Okay, tell us about hollow wires. How did they fire these things?
If you move to the next with the globe, you can see the wire coming out of the top of it. Uh-huh. That would go through your wall or your ceiling mm-hmm. out into your shed, and it would hook to a tank similar to that one right there. Mm-hmm. And it would have had its own external, most times they used a tire pump, automotive spare tire pump to pump it up, and you would fill it about 3/4 of the way up with gas and then put pressure in it, and then the wires would transport the gas from wherever that was to your hollow wire appliances.
So these were just scattered throughout the house?
Yep, and the hollow wire was in your walls and ceilings, so if it sprung a leak, it was just raw gas. Yep. It explains a lot of home fires and
absolutely
churches.
They're beautiful.
The number 17 with all the globes on it over there was used in meeting halls and churches, and
this burner is really
has 3 main burners and then 4 peripheral burners.
Wow.
That's a P. That's an original torchlight P, which is marked on the bottom of the fount P.
Right. Look at those burners.
Coleman, if that was to go to a repair station in its time, Coleman would have thrown those burners away and put the new Q burners on it. So they're very hard to find with original burners on them. That's a 138. Fred Kuntz restored that probably 15 years ago for me. That's an aftermarket shade that Bernie Carlson made. 138 kerosene.
Very special.
Could be either. Not many people know that Coleman made their own wick trimmer, as did Aladdin lamps. That is a genuine Coleman 160 wick trimmer. Unmarked. None of them were marked.
That's the original. There's no mantle in it, but it's the original envelope that would have come with a Model R.
Okay, and then you got 3 preheater bottles here.
Mm-hmm.
What's in the one on the left there has an envelope in it. What's in there?
The screws to hold the wall bracket. They would mount them on the wall, mm-hmm. and it would hold your preheater bottle, and you would just dip your torch out of it and light your lamp and put it back into the bottle. Okay. So there's actually that little bracket on the top was actually mounted on a wall.
Okay. Let's go up on top.
The what is that, 320, 318?
Which
Yeah,
one?
we got,
The second one, that's the one with the reverse, obverse decal on it. The difference between that decal and that decal.
I don't think they're going to be able to see that. There they go. Okay.
there you go.
Between that one and that one. Okay.
And what we found out in some of the later catalogs, I think what they did is they just ran out of the green decal that's on the 324, and they just put them both on the brown and the green ones. In the very late catalog, it shows them on both.
The first one in the corner with the 320, original 329, has the sticker still in it.
Okay.
They're just CQs, they're nothing special lamp-wise.
Right. Yeah, I can see the decal. You can see it right there. Yep. In fact, I've seen a picture of that lamp shade before, haven't I?
Mm-hmm. It's in the shade book.
Yeah. Okay.
So sorting paperwork. Lots more paperwork to sort.
And this is going towards hopefully a future book on stoves.
Stoves, yep. I'm helping John Stendhal's stove book.
Looking forward to that, John.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope you enjoyed that. Their collection is just incredible. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. And until part 2 of Bozeman, keep 'em burning.